Okay, so let's just get right into it. So I was like, I think I made a recording yesterday about how, like, God put it in my head about how AI is going to, maybe not like enable new branches of science. I don't think it can do that, because Apple wrote an article about how AI cannot really create, right? Which is true, right? If you're being honest, AI cannot like create anything new, right? Humans are the ones that can actually create. Humans are the, are the co-creators with God, right? AI can create, unfortunately. It can copy, which is what it's good at, and it does a very good job of it. But it cannot create anything new, right? So I doubt if AI is going to create like any new science, right? But what it's going to do is that it's going to enable a lot of like what we consider like fringe sciences in the past, right? It's going to make them possible, right? So a classic example of a fringe science, for instance, or things we consider futuristic. So for instance, in the Bible, there's this place where the Bible talks about how the streets of heaven is paved with gold, right? So AI is going to, and that is weird. Like, how can they pave streets with gold? Well, because they have an infinite supply of gold, right? They can't run out of gold, so they might as well pave their roads with it, right? Now, every civilization has tried. Every civilization on earth has tried to do this, right? In fact, the whole concept of like alchemist, started from Egypt, and they did that. They tried to convert, like, they just tried to make gold accessible. They wanted to make gold accessible to everybody, just like in heaven. It just boils down to this, like, people trying to replicate heaven on earth, right? So AI is going to make that happen, by the way. And, people are going to, eventually we're going to get, our roads on earth are going to be like paved with gold, maybe a decade from now or something. AI is going to make alchemy possible. And another thing is that cars are built around the driver, right? Now, because AI is going to handle most of the driving, the driver won't be necessary anymore. So the form factor of a car will not necessarily be the way it is anymore, right? So there'll be a lot of nuance on the road. There'll be a lot of personalization on the road. So you could see like a traditional car, self-driving car, sitting next to like a chariot, like a self-driven chariot, sitting next to like a skateboard, like an electric skateboard, that can self-drive, to like a bicycle, to like, there'll be like, to like somebody driving like a unicorn, like a mechanical unicorn. There'll be a lot of like personalization, right? Now, with that personalization, now because there's a lot of nuance on the road, right, there's going to be need for, it's going to cause chaos essentially, and people will need to there will be need for coordination, right? There will be need for a lot of coordination. So, for instance, airplanes don't necessarily crash a lot, and when they crash, it's a big deal. Everybody's like, "Oh, the airplane crashed," and everybody holds Boeing and Airbus responsible, right? But cars, on the other hand, cars crash every day, and people don't. It's so bad now that people don't even take it like. They don't bat an eyelid. It doesn't even make the news. And people die inside those car crashes, right? So the reason why airplanes don't crash is because, number one, they are well engineered. And another thing, the reason why they don't crash is because of something called a control tower. Now, a control tower is on ground, located somewhere on ground, right? And it gives directions to the plane, like to the pilots, like, drop 20,000 feet. It tells the pilot exactly how to move, right? So in the future, right, and this is going to be like another like medium of employment for a lot of people, right? So in the future, right, when we have like all this nuance on the road, and I'm talking like 5-6 years from now, right, where there's a lot of nuance on the road, right? This is right before we get the golden road, by the way. There's going to be control towers essentially for roads. And you know how like in every country, like let's say like 3 people are attached to like a dentist. Like for every 3 people there's a dentist, or for every 10 people there's a dentist. I think in Nigeria it's for 1,000 people to a dentist or something like that, right? So in the future, right, it's also going to be like that, but it's going to be for control towers, right? So it's going to be like, let's say 3 vehicles. I don't want to use the word car because it might not be a car. It could be a chariot. It could be a self-driving bicycle. It could be a self-driving golf cart. It could be a self-driving skateboard, right? So for let's say every 3 vehicles on the road, right, there'll be like somebody in the control tower assigned to it that is like, it's not controlling it, it's the AI that is doing the control, but that person will be assigned to monitor it, right? Now, so that just in case an accident happens, right, there'll be somebody to be held responsible, right? Because people will get tired of holding AI responsible for mistakes, right? So, and that would be like a source of employment. So a lot of people driving today, like doing truck driving, a lot of people driving today, doing Uber, they'll still be employed, but they'll mostly be employed in those like control towers, right? And they'll be monitoring the safe passage of people especially when it carries like human beings. Maybe not every car will be monitored, right? But not every vehicle will be monitored. Like for instance, if it's carrying freight from, let's say, Wyoming to New York, right? Well, you don't have to monitor that or Idaho to New York, right? It's carrying potatoes, right? You don't have to be monitoring potatoes. It's not that deep, right? But if it's carrying, like, let's say kids from school, let's say there's a car with like 4 kids and it's taking them to school, well, you don't want to entrust that into the hand of like an AI, no matter how good the self-driving is, right? You need a human being to monitor that process, and you need somebody to be held responsible if that thing goes wrong, right? If something goes wrong, you can't just blame the company now. You need somebody to blame, right? So a lot of human beings are going to be employed by the government, right? In all these control towers, and they're going to be in charge of the roads. And that's another, it's such a, like, I don't want to keep talking about this thing because, the Bible says that once have I spoken, twice have you heard, right? If somebody doesn't believe what God has said, well, God will just exclude you from the prophecy, right? So I don't want to keep talking about it, but like, every day God just keeps like showing me all this like really marvelous stuff, that like how marvelous this future that is coming, right? It's going to be so nice. At the end. So I just wanted to mention that people like attach those cars like to guard those cars. Let's say they are called guardians, right? And just like you have Uber drivers that complete rides, right? You see some Uber drivers, you say, oh, he has completed 10,000 rides, right? You have like guardians that have completed, let's say, 25,000 rides, right? He has helped guide like a self-driving car, maybe with children from home to school. Let's say 10,000. He has completed 10,000 of those kind of rides, right? And you see that he has like a experience in New York, right? And then that guardian, right, to advance his career, it might be like, okay, I've mastered New York roads, let me migrate to California, and then he's going to move to Los Angeles, and he's going to master, let's say, complete 30,000 trips in California, right? And then he's going to go to Spain and do the same thing in Spain. And then he's going to come to Lagos and be like, you know what, I've mastered all these places, let me try my hands in Lagos. So let's say when it comes to your city, that guardian, let's say it comes to Mississippi, where I am, essentially. If it comes to Mississippi and you're looking for somebody to take a person is looking for somebody to take their kids to school. There are 4 kids to school, to guard their kids to school, right? Self-driving car, but you need a guardian to monitor it. Then you see this guy, he has completed, at this time, about 64,000 trips. He has experience in Lagos, has experience in New York, has experience in California, has experience in Madrid. He's been everywhere, right? And then you're going to assign him, but you check his stats on the Uber app, right? And he has 4 crashes. And then you'll be like, 4 crashes. And then the Uber app is going to let you like review those crashes. And then it's going to play back the crash for you. The blueprints, the everything. And then you'll be able to make your own judgment call and be like, it was just having a bad day. 4 crashes to 64,000 successful trips. He was just having a bad day. And then, you'll be assigned to like take your 4 stubborn kids to school inside the self-driving car and bring him back. And then when the tip is complete, you tip him just like Uber. It's so I think there'll be so much work people won't want to work, essentially. It will be like COVID, where everybody doesn't want to go home, go back to the office, right? So the government will have a hard time getting people to work. But the work will be fun and convenient, but people will still want to do it. So the future is so exciting, man. I can't wait.